Hi, everyone. Welcome to Virtual HNA. This session is entitled Selling in a Digital World, Moving Prospects Through the Sales Funnel Online. Today, we're going to be talking about some pretty interesting things about how things have changed dramatically in the sales process in the hardscape industry. We broke today's talk into three main sections, if you will. We're going to take a look at why this is even a talk. Why are we talking about a new way to sell, and how do we do it online? Basically, that's aligned to the new way that folks research, that consumers research in their journey, right? So we're going to kick things off that way, kind of foundationally. Then we're going to dive into what I call the toolbox for online or digital selling using content and all this good stuff. And then we're going to take a hard look at what it takes to, or how we think converting a lead into the sales process it should look now with online appointment systems. So again, thank you for spending time here today. My name is Corey Halstead. I am a co-owner at Halstead Media, where we are 100% focused on marketing solutions for the outdoor living industry. So hardscape, landscape, and pool industries. And we work across all the different segments. So contractors, manufacturers, dealers, associations. So all of this really means basically is that everything that we're going to talk about today is industry specific. So these are solutions that work. They work within your exact business. They're things that are tested in case studies and working relationships that we have at Halstead. Yeah, I've been at it in one way, shape, or form in this industry for over 25 years now. I was born into it through an uncle's business. And most of you have, if you've ever seen any of my other talks, know some of this stuff. So I won't spend too much time here, and we can just dive into why sales has changed and why I am a firm believer, and most of the digital leaders are aligned with that. Content is a great tool, if not one of the best, for selling new projects and new accounts. So before we dive into how do we actually do that digitally, let's take a look at what has changed in the customer journey, because really it's about educating, about building trust online, which is funny because that hasn't really changed, right? But what has changed is that you used to have control over that. And I say you, maybe an owner is still selling, or you have a sales team, whatever. It used to be that was a major starting point, right? That handshake. And now the consumer would say, tell me about your services and tell me about what products I can use. I know nothing about it. But that never happens anymore because they start online now. We call it the 79 days online rule at Halstead. And basically it just means that every prospect, I think I can pretty much say that now, is starting online in one way, shape, or form before you ever hear from them. The stat is around 79 days of research for larger purchases before they ever contact the company. So the idea here is that you used to control, as the salesperson, what that consumer would know and what you wanted them to know, and where they were in their journey was learned just from a face-to-face or a telephone conversation. But now it's all happening without you even knowing who they are. So selling is now happening with content and online, right? But the things that they wanted are still the same. They still want a relationship. They still want trust and transparency, right? So how do we do that online in a way that is going to be effective, right? Now, this has happened in other industries earlier than this, right? It's no secret. The landscape industry has been a little behind in some of these things, and it's coming up now as it's hitting maturity and we're scaling and the industry is growing like crazy. But now is the time to really start to look at how we can use digital selling to save time, to deliver better pre-qualified leads, and take some time and demand off of your staff, which is huge right now with the labor crisis. So the industry has definitely changed from when I was born into it, when I was 14 years old. It is a completely different industry now. It is in just landscape construction, it's over $11 billion annually now. And the competition is incredibly fierce, right? So everybody knows that within their market, they have some at least one other company that is stiff competition that is doing things right. So now is the time. The consumer is now ready as well, because it used to be that the consumer wouldn't expect the same experience from a construction or a landscape or a hardscape company as they would from maybe a TV company or a tech company or Apple. But that's really changed quite substantially now, and the consumer is ready for the experience that they want to have, and we need to step up as an industry and deliver it. So the industry's changed, but so is the customer's journey, right? This is really what this section is about. How is that consumer starting their research and finding you? Well, it's quite fragmented. So even when they started to do this online years ago, and this is nothing new, obviously, it is now much more fragmented than ever, meaning that they're using different devices. Maybe they're starting this process on a phone in bed at night while they're doing a couple of Google searches, and then they're going to the office and completing that on their laptop. They're doing it across different channels, right? So they're on Facebook one day, Instagram on another. They're using Google search over here. Maybe they're on LinkedIn for something professional. And all of these platforms are part of their research plan. And it doesn't really matter to them, because they're the consumer in control, right? They want an experience that is acceptable, that is tailored, that is contextual to their journey, no matter where they are and what time of day and what platform and what device. So the industry's changed. The customer journey has certainly changed, and it's far messier than it used to be, right? We used to just have a pretty linear journey. They'd do a Google search, they'd click on a link, they'd learn about you, they'd contact you. Then you guys would do your things and you'd book them into a conversation, right? You have a lot of control as an owner or salesperson in that regard. Now is just bouncing all over the internet, right? From platform to platform. So how do you keep track of where exactly that customer's journey is going, and how do you deliver, more importantly, content that is contextual to where they are in that journey? And that's really what this is about, right? Because when you think about that, they are researching for almost 80 days before you ever hear from them. They're going to your competitors' websites, digesting competitors' videos in their social news feeds. They're doing yours. They're watching the video and the post that you posted. They're doing all of this stuff, and you don't even know who they are or where they are in the atmosphere. And when you think about that, you realize that your new sales rep is not the person that you're going to hire or try to hire, which is incredibly difficult. It's actually your content that's digital. And that is really the foundation for today's talk across the board. We need to understand this this foundational element to really understand the next parts of sales 2.0 in the hardscape industry, if you will, right? Because sales and marketing are actually finally united now. And they are across many industries, but this one in particular is now we need to think about our website, our social platforms, our email campaigns, all of this stuff as sales efforts along with marketing efforts, because they really and truly are, when they're used in the fashion that we're going to talk about today. And that is really the deal, because nothing has changed, right? Nothing actually has changed. It's still just about relationships and trust. And when we look at that, digital content distributed the correct way is how you do those things now. We create trust, we create conversations, we create personality and style in our content, right? So our company has unique offerings, and we create transparency, which is really what the consumer is hungry for now. They want to know more about what you guys have going on the inside, the real deal, what you stand for, what your culture is, all of those good things. And we can do that and close sales really effectively if we do a good job at implementing the items in your toolbox. All right. So because driving a lead through their journey is now done digitally, we can do that with content through the entire process. So what are the components of your toolbox, your digital sales toolbox for the hardscape industry? We have positioning, we have pricing, we have projects, and we have nurturing. Okay, and we're going to dive into these guys. Positioning, pricing, projects, and nurturing are the 4 components within your toolbox. Positioning is how are you actually coming across to the consumer that finds that blog post, that clicks on that Facebook ad and takes you to that landing page, that visits your website automatically because of a referral, or because they saw your truck in the neighborhood and went to your website. All of it, however they got to you. What are they actually seeing when they get there, right? What is your niche within the hardscape industry? And I'm big on this. I talk a lot about this. As the industry grows and expands, generalists are going to have trouble, right? Because the world wants niche selection. What do you specialize in a particular type of job, a particular style, aesthetic style, a particular size of job? Is $35,000 job your sweet spot? Do you do really big jobs, small jobs? What do you do? What products do you use? What is your niche within the hardscape industry? And are you, more importantly, so after you do that digging, are you communicating that to Mrs. Jones that finds you digitally online? This is a big one, right? So do your services align to your navigation? We see this all the time. And this is a nuance, but it's a big deal. We see it in the data across case studies. A lot of times we'll see this company that says, I only do large, multifaceted outdoor living projects, meaning it's got to have an outdoor kitchen. It's got to have a pool scape. It's got to have a fireplace and a seating area and a pergola and all this stuff. That's what they do. That's all they do. And then you go to the website and it says services up at the top, and it says paver patios, paver walkways, retaining walls. And I think I would like to challenge you to say, does Mrs. Jones, that just knows that she wants the whole thing, that she thinks about $200,000, really want to read individually about a retaining wall and see a retaining wall by itself? She doesn't connect the dots. So it would be better suited for you to show projects and explain your services in a well-rounded, comprehensive package type style, right? So look long and hard at whether that navigation on the services align. And copywriting is a monster, because I know that there's a lot of folks that think that people do not read copy. They just want to see images. I strongly disagree. Your consumer that is a discerning one, that has the luxury mindset and the disposable income to afford your services, is an educated professional a lot of times, right? And they are research driven and they are articulate, not always, but a lot, and they are reading. It shows when a good piece of content is written. You can see it in the stats. So what is your copywriting doing, and does it speak to the right person? We have one client that works in a particular market that has a lot of financial services professionals. Are we writing copy to speak to somebody that is not as sophisticated as that? No. We need to match the copywriting to position your company the right way. This is the Mrs. Jones comes, clicks on there. She should understand right away whether or not you're a company that she wants to know. And this is pre-qualifying a sales lead. That's what you're doing now. No different than when you used to do it on the phone, or when you used to do it face-to-face, when you have to drive out there. If you're still doing that, stop. But many companies will still take a lead and they drive out to the kitchen table before they know anything about them. Stop. This is just doing that digitally, right? So that's positioning. Pricing is a huge one, okay? Let's start talking about pricing at scale in the industry. The consumer understands that it's going to be some money. If they don't, then they're not your customer if they cannot afford that money, correct? Or it has to align. If your projects are small and you want a certain level of income, great, doesn't matter. It just has to align. So we need to talk about it either way. If you're doing a $20,000 job or you're doing a $300,000 job, doesn't matter. We need to talk about it, right? And we need to talk about it in a transparent way with them. And the way that you talk about it is give them content during that 79 days of research that they're doing, right? Save the time and the disappointment that everybody has in that experience. The contractor, the sales rep has a terrible experience because they think that the customer wants one thing, but they don't have the budget. The customer gets all excited and then they realize they don't have the budget. Everybody does not have the time or the energy to spend on it anymore. So set the expectations earlier. The way you do this is a couple of different ways. Design packages, budget ranges, or better yet, calculators is exactly right, right? We're going to look at these tools starting with the packages one that you see here. But the deal is, and I get this argument, I understand it, and I value it. But if I lead with the price, then I'm not going to get a chance to sell. Understood, believe it. I do it at Halstead. I get it. So you cannot forget the value along that with this content that you are doing. Yes, you can do pricing, but you have to balance it with also the other things that you would do if you were selling live, right? So perceived value, the quality, the craftsmanship, all of these things need to come across as well. So the pricing packages is quite simple, really. This is an example from a client of ours. This is broken out. It's one way to do it. There's many different ways that we do it, that other folks do it, however you want to do it. You can break it out to give them an idea. This is not giving them a price. And they understand that, right? It is only pre-qualifying them so that if they are not anywhere near where you want them to be, they're not going to contact you. You do not want a bad sales lead to contact you. You want them to not. That's why I always say I'd rather send 5 good leads to a client than 150 that suck. And that's what most agencies do. They pat themselves on the back when they deliver 150 crappy leads. No way. That spends time, energy, your team's time, which is too valuable. So break it out and show them what they can get for what, right? This person knows that your backyards aren't going to start less than 25K and that you're very comfortable doing projects above 150K, but maybe your sweet spot's somewhere in between, right? And if for a front yard, I got that project, I can understand. Or let's look at what a custom package would be, right? The customer, the homeowner is understanding pricing right from the get-go, right? Pricing calculators is a big one that we are spending time on. And it's one that I think is going to really take over in a few, maybe 3 to 5 years. This one makes contractors nervous, but that's okay. We're still pushing ahead. There is no, in my opinion, no reason why a consumer cannot build their project and start to get a more detailed understanding of the price while they are having an interactive web experience with your company. We are building this one out for a client, and they're going to literally be able to choose and build their pool model, hardscaping, coping, heating, lighting, all of that across countless pool models. And they're going to be able to spit out a range of pricing. Very carefully worded, that it's not an exact quote, all of that. So don't get caught up in the details. The idea is that we can show these folks how to do it, and this is all driving them through the sales funnel and pre-qualifying your sales leads. This is selling digitally, guys. That's what this is, right? So you have that. Now you go into your projects, okay? So we've done our positioning, we've done our pricing, now we got our projects. This is the third component in our toolbox for digital sales. The way that we are presenting our work is foundationally critical to our sales efforts and to our brand. Okay? So if we're trying to do projects of a certain fashion, then we need to be able to show projects of that same fashion. And when we present our work, we have to present them with video, photos, written word. Okay? It tells a story, and it all gets bundled up into a case study. So much blood, sweat, and tears goes into building, designing, and building and maintaining these projects that you guys do and gals do. We really need to put the value and the expenditure on capturing them the way that they deserve to be captured. And we have to start realizing that it's really not about showing a picture. It's about telling the story around that project. So in that fashion, it's almost time to say goodbye to the galleries, what I call the dump all galleries, right? This one where you put it on your website and you drop it in and you show 500 pictures of all different kinds of things. That is not going to drive the person through the sales funnel. That is going to confuse the hell out of them because they don't know what the heck they're looking at. They're not the same projects. They don't want that. They want this, and they don't know what's possible. But what we need to do is show them a case study, right? And then they can relate to that entire project and say, oh, okay, this is what I want, and this is what it is going to cost me, okay? That is educating the person before they ever contact you. So the case study should show everything that they need to know about individual projects. I always say you can have a separate gallery if you want, to call it whatever you want, glimpses or snapshots, or however we want to craftily, creatively word it, to where you can put detail shots from all over. Great. It's aesthetically pleasing. I understand it. But in order to sell digitally online with your toolbox, it needs to be in case studies. And we need to make sure that your projects, which is that component in your toolbox, right, is matching the consumer expectations that you have. Okay, this is a huge one. I talk to folks all the time that say that they specialize in $200,000 jobs, and that's all they do, and that's all they want to do, but they're not getting enough of them. And then we go dive in, and they're not showing any of them in a way that a $200,000 customer would want to see them. That is a dead in the water sales lead. Dead in the water. It might not have used to been, but it is now, because there's other options. Okay. So we need to take a hard look at our projects and say, am I matching what my customer wants? Look at your customers as you go, right? In particular, if you're a large scale, like a larger project guy or gal, these are people that like refinement and luxury, right? Let's show them that in the projects. They need to be able to feel themselves there. The details matter extensively for that. So just take a look at the quality of the video, the quality of the photos, and make sure that it is aligning to what you would want to show in your sales process, because that's what it is. You are absolutely selling. There's a little secret ROI to this as well, because the industry needs your photos, and manufacturers and dealers and associations, we all need great photos and videos of your work. So if you prioritize this, not only are you going to sell and close better and weed out people, but you're also going to get extended reach from partners in your industry. Okay. And you're also going to build your legacy, right? This is what you spend all day doing. So capture it. Capture it, capture it. That's a little buried, and it's actually not a little bit of return on investment. It's a lot. So projects in the toolbox is a huge one. All right. Up fourth in the digital sales toolbox is nurturing. Okay. So when we think about retargeting, every time that you hear the word retargeting, and we're going to look at what this is, you think that is basically replaced with selling digitally. Because that is where we're at now, right? Remember, 79 days online rule. They're researching. Personalization is the idea of showing a particular visitor or user online, let's call it this, and this is across all industries now, showing that particular user a certain type of content based on where they are in their journey. That's called personalization. It's contextual content. It's the right content at the right time. We are officially there in the hardscape and outdoor living industry. We are officially there. The customer wants it. The customer is starting to expect it. If they have already converted to have an appointment, they don't want to receive messaging that says schedule an appointment. It's amateur, and they're going to be turned off, right? So we need to align our messaging in our funnels to the journey that is ahead. And the way that you do that is through properly crafted and designed and executed retargeting campaigns, which really just is an essential to bring somebody down the journey of the sales funnel. Because you cannot say, here's one ad, click it and buy a backyard for $100,000 or buy a backyard for $30,000. You cannot do that. It doesn't work at scale. So retargeting is the way that you actually have multiple sales appointments, a phone conversation, a meeting in person. This stuff is all happening digitally now. So the way that you do that is by staying. Remember this thing here, right? This is a visual component of what retargeting is. This is the idea that nobody clicks on an ad and buys a project. Right? They click on an ad, they leave, they get distracted, they get pulled away from work, they get the kids screaming, then they leave, then they go to their phone and they continue their research. We have to continuously stay with them until they fill out a form or book a call or do what they do. So that's retargeting, which is a component of nurturing, right? And this is just, nurturing is just sales, right? That's all we're doing here. We're just selling. So the other component of nurturing is email marketing, okay? Email marketing is selling. Okay, it still works. It still works well, but you have to do it in a way that aligns to where they are, right? So if a customer comes in and they download a particular offer, or they sign up for your email list, they should get messaging that is appropriate for that, right? And you can take this pretty darn far down the pipeline, and we'll look at it in a second with our online appointment systems that we're going to dive into. But you can get pretty interesting with this by creating particular funnels based on what they do, right? So let's say that they are searching online. That's the explore, right? They're researching. They first click on an ad, maybe let's call it a paid Facebook ad. They click. From that point forward, they go through and they're researching and they're comparing and they discuss, right? And then maybe they convert, they sign up to your list, right? You can then drive them through the first call and the meetings and the purchase with specific emails. Does that make sense? So you can say, okay, somebody who has booked a sales call, I'm going to put them in this bucket over here that's going to tell the software to send them this email, then this email, then this email. And somebody who has bought a project from me, this continues down the whole line. Somebody who has bought a project from us, they're going to go into this bucket over here, and they're going to get more upsell or management or maintenance related stuff, messaging through email. So match the message in the email to where they are in their journey, and that is called selling digitally. That is the toolbox, right? That is the entire toolbox. If we do these things, we have a well-executed sales process digitally. That means by the time they get to booking a call or converting into a lead, they're pre-qualified a little bit, or quite a lot in a lot of instances. You've weeded out all the folks that are probably not a good fit based on your projects and your positioning and your pricing, right? You've done a lot of work to make sure that these people are a good fit. And you're going to save time and close at a better percentage rate, right? And when we talk about converting that lead into a lead, right, or that visitor into a lead, it used to and still does for the large majority of hardscape companies means filling out a form or calling the office. I challenge you to rethink that by using appointment systems online. Okay, so automating your calendar. This is a huge one. So the customer wants to take control of how they book and interact with you. So here's a busy professional. Okay, I've done 79 days of research. By the time they're ready to contact you, they're ready, right? And then they have to fill out a form and wait. And then they have to fill out a form and wonder, like, okay, when will I get called back? Then they have to call you, or maybe they have to wait for somebody to schedule the meeting. This is clunky and they're not in control, right? But if you flip it by using automation and allowing them to have control, which we're going to look at with this process, then you'll see how much they love it and how much they are in control. So how do you do it? You outline your process for the sales. Then you use your online booking system, which we're going to look at. Basically, you allow them to schedule a call, right? And then you do a series of pre-qualifying phone calls so that you can know, right? So anybody that is going out to a job based on a form submission or a phone call in the least bit blind should stop now and schedule a pre-qualifying phone call, and we should allow them to book it themselves, right? So let's take a look, right? So we're going to say outlining our process, right? So the customer really wants to know what the process is so that when they book that call, they can understand what they're booking and where they are in the journey, right? So that it's less scary for them. They say, okay, I'm ready. I want to talk to somebody. Okay, this is where I start. I start with my discovery call here, right? This is a client that we've designed their stuff for. And they start with a discovery call. It tells them exactly what they're going to do on that call, right? So this is giving them control. Now they're going to be able to understand what comes after that, what comes next. And they're going to say, oh, okay, all right. So the first step is a call. And let me go ahead and drive people. You should drive people to make that call. So again, we saw this, right? Let's rethink the conversion point. When they are ready, give them the online calendar so that they can book that discovery call by themselves when they want to, based on the calendars that you allow to be set, right? You can control every nook and cranny of this thing. How when do you want to take certain calls? When do you want to take a pre-qualifying phone call? I want to take it on Tuesday and Thursday between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Fine. That's the only time that customer will see availability on your calendar. When do you want to do in-person meetings? It's the only time that you will see that particular thing on that calendar, right? And that goes back to this slide where we say dedicated landing pages and personalized content. We have clients that we're working with that just imagine this whole thing to be automated. And this goes back to, you can only see 2 or 3 steps ahead. You can't see 15. You got to start, right? So if you start with this basic framework, which is what happened with folks, and then they say, oh man, we can do this and I can do that and I can do that. So here's something that's happening right now. Like that first pre-qualifying phone call is the call to action or the conversion point for all of the marketing efforts, right? The Facebook ads, the Instagram ads, all the SEO, everything is going to that book a call link, right? They book the pre-qualifying phone call based on when the sales rep or the owner wants to take it, so they know it's coming in. There's a however extensive of a intake form that you want. What kind of questions do you want to ask? So before you get on that phone call, right? And I have clients that tell me this all the time. I'm running around, bringing this here, bringing that there. I love that I can say, oh, okay, I got a reminder. I got a phone call coming up. Never even spoke to that person. No administration staff spoke to that person. I have it on my calendar, and in 2.5 minutes, I can understand how to get on that phone call really prepared. I know what they want, what they think they want, and I can really just take the time to drill in and make sure that I should push it to an in-person meeting, right? Then they say, oh, you know what? Okay, yeah, this is great. This sounds like a fantastic fit. Let's schedule an in-person meeting so that I can see the property. Fantastic. Hangs up the phone, copies the link, and you can automate this part as well, but copies a link to the next landing page. Okay, just a page on the back end of the website that has the calendar link for in-person meetings only. So now this is a different availability. Maybe you only take those, in the evening, or you only take those on Wednesdays, or whenever you do it. That's what they would see for availability. It will also tell them on that landing page that they go to, hey, this is what you should expect from our meeting, right? Personalized content, like it says on the bottom of this page, personalizing their experience. So you can automate your calendar, but also automate their experience through your entire journey. And they know all along where they are as they go through that journey, right? Because the main thing that we need to understand when we're talking about digital sales is that nobody is going to simply click on an ad and buy a big backyard. We need to sell them digitally through the process online. All right. So that is a crash course in digital sales, driving people through that whole buyer's journey online digitally. I hope that you got at least one thing or maybe more out of this talk, and I thank you for your time and attention. Again, my name is Corey Halstead at Halstead Media. Any questions at all, anything at all, you can reach out, book a call, shoot me an email, follow us on Instagram for content that is specific to the hardscape and landscape industry, and enjoy the rest of virtual H&A. Thank you so much.